You're listening to the podcast, Clean Comedy Chats with your host, Drew Davis. It's gonna be awesome and will change your life forever. You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right, welcome back to the Clean Comedy Chats podcast. I'm your host, Drew Davis, and we bring you a different comedian every week to chat with, to get to know. All the comedians that you hear on our podcast are from the group, the Clean Comedy Collective, which started out here in Nashville and now we're nationwide. Our comedian today that we're interviewing is actually from Massachusetts, and his name's Jerry Caruso. Jerry, how's it going? Did I say your last
Hey,
name correctly?
yeah, Caruso's good. Yeah, yeah.
It's good. It's Castle. I'm practically illiterate, but I'm glad you're here with us, Jerry. Me and Jerry have an abbreviated time, so we're gonna fire off into the interview real quick. But just before we
Sure.
do that, just so everyone knows, first of all, it's been a while since we've recorded a few episodes. I've gotten a lot of nice messages from people. Thank you for the encouragement and the positivity and telling me what you like about the comedians and the things we've shared. And if anyone listening, check us out, cleancomedycollective.com. You can see the podcast. You can see all the comedians from all the different states from across the nation. Jerry's in Massachusetts. I'm in Tennessee. You can see what kind of shows we have coming across the nation. And if you're a comedian and you want to join the Clean Comedy Collective, you can see how to submit for that as well. And that's the normal just promotion commercial part of it. Jerry, we're going to get into it. I usually read a super awesome, amazing bio of the comedian beforehand, but I don't have that on you on file. A few things I know about Jerry is he's been doing comedy for a while. He does shows and has a podcast called Comedy for a Cure. Is that right? Like that's the name of it.
Yeah, comics for a cure. Yeah.
Comics for a Cure. So that's also something I was just on his podcast. So you guys can check that out if you'd like. This is kind of like a crossover episode with both of us. And Jerry, is there anything else? I know you perform all over. What other cool things can we say about you, comedy
Cool
wise?
things. Comedian since 1993, started comics for a cure in 1994. 1999, I started teaching comedy at a community college level, and they interviewed me on the radio station, said, "What's it take to do stand-up comedy?" I said, $80. They go, "What do they need to take to the class to become a good comedian?" I said, $80. They said, "What tools do they need? What special things they need to bring?" I go, $80. And that interview was immediately over. Uh, After that, in 2000, I started my own show on cable TV in a little town called Athol. Sounds like a body part, but it's not. It's pretty, if you say it fast, I suppose.
I
And
love
they
that.
called it, I said, name it what you wanted to. And the young producer said, let's call it the Jerry Caruso Comedy Hour. I go, oh my God, that's so brilliant. I don't know how you thought of that. That ran
Mhm.
18 years. Then in 2001, by the grace of God, I got unemployed, didn't know what I was going to do. And out of the clear blue, Boston Casting, which is a big casting for actors, comedians, musicians, etc. They call me, they go, how would you like to be an actor? I go, I'm not an actor. They go, look, what are you doing tomorrow? I go, well, I just got unemployed. They go, good, you're not doing anything. So come out and try out for a role for Murder Mystery Dinner Theater. So I tried out for Murder Mystery Incorporated, which became Murder Mystery USA. And they said, we want a wise ass Italian cop. I go, I'm your man. So that was pretty easy. And out of 100, I think it was like 100 or so people, they picked me, and that lasted for 23 years. And then I had double knee surgery and said, okay, maybe I'll go back into it eventually. But in the meantime, it was a good run. And after that, during that time, I did a lot of local radio and radio personality at three basic stations within my 20-mile radius. It's kind of cool. Whether I go virtual, they always want me in studio because it's so much easier because you make fun of the
Mm.
place, how terrible that it looks, how cold it is, and how we get no money and why people listen to radio and who really cares. And they say, okay, come on, Jerry, you're a perfect fit. And then back in, I'd say 2009, when I got unemployed again, I had the notion to get heavy into motivational speaking. So I started speaking to groups, brain injury support groups, and it turned into a big thing. And then it turned into blossom to talking to other groups. So I've been doing that ever since. So I think that's where I land now. Oh, and recently I have a show that started in 2024. 4 called Jerry Duty, which I
Mhm.
tried to get you on, but we'll work it out somehow down the
Yeah, we'll
road.
figure that out.
We'll
Yeah.
figure that out. So now I'm doing that, and that's where I talk to people from top comedians, top entertainers, and it's really a cool show. I've had one probably okay show where one guy tried to take over, and that was terrible. And then another girl who was just like I had to pull her teeth to get her to call my name by the 48-minute mark, and that's pretty bad, you know. They
Yeah.
look at you like, okay, and I go, my name is, oh, Jerry, yes, that's right. And we got 12 minutes left, so it was a crazy time. So
Yeah.
that's me in a nutshell.
That's a great nutshell. And it's going to make the next question I ask even harder because usually people just share a few things and then I ask them, okay, but beyond what you do, but on all the different things, who is Jerry beyond the bio? And I feel like that's going to be tough because you just gave me so much there. Like, what aside from the comedy labels and accomplishments, what how would you describe yourself beyond what you do?
Beyond what I do, that is a tough question. I am a family guy. I've been married for over 42 years to a lovely wife who's saying, like, are you done yet? Um, and
Like in
I,
life or like with
no,
comedy?
just to come downstairs and spend time with her because I worked during the day.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
I'm semi-retired. I was a big IT geek guy. Not a geek because I was
Mhm.
anti-geek. I was like, I told jokes while I fixed equipment or while I resolved hardware or software problems.
You're the cool IT guy.
Yeah, the one is like, you're not IT. You're not IT.
Yeah.
You have a personality. You don't do these, you don't do gaming, do you? I go, no, I wouldn't be caught dead doing that. So I did that for most of my life till I got unemployed recently. And now I'm turned into like an equipment manager. I don't know how that happened. Another gift from God. It just came from above. So I do that too. And and I have grandkids who I have a lot of fun with. I have 5 of them and
Oh
age
wow.
range 7 to 18. It's amazing. But
Oh
I,
wow. Yeah.
so I do all that. So it's cool. So that's
Yeah,
me
that's
outside of that.
awesome. It's good to have a we talked about this a little bit on your podcast. It's good to have a life outside of just the comedy and the hustle of all we do with entertainment to
Oh
balance
God,
things
yeah.
out. So yeah. So one of the things I'm interested in is I mean you were doing comedy in the 90s and you're doing comedy now in the 2020s. I'd love to know like what how do you feel like things are different now than they were back then?
I think it was more free where you weren't censored and there was no woke stuff. The only good thing about my act is it's self-deprecating. It's about me. I've got one complaint about my act once. One woman said, I'm offended you made fun of Italians. I go, ma'am, I'm Italian. You can't tell by the nose, the tan, the mafia look, everything's Italian with me. She goes, you offended a lot of Italians. I go, I'm Italian. I'm
Yeah, you can't.
100%.
Yeah.
And guess what? She wasn't. But anyway,
Oh, that's
um,
hysterical. It's
she was
always the
like she
people
was
that
like a
aren't
Yankee.
that
She
are
was like a
yeah.
Yankee. She was like English, Scottish, Irish, and
Mhm.
she was like, felt offended. I go, oh my God, me of all people. And that's the only time. So, because I make fun of me, people can't get mad at me when I make fun of myself. My crutch is a great crutch. I remember what you said about you, how self-deprecating you pick on a high voice. See, I have a lazy eye. That's like gold. I just talk about it because I didn't do anything about it, and I make jokes about it. Some people feel bad, but then they're laughing their heads off. I go, if you feel so
Yeah.
bad, why are you laughing at me for?
Yeah.
So I
That's
lean on
one of
that.
my yeah, that's one of my favorite things about comedy in general. I know one of the questions we were talking about in your podcast. And by the way, I'm referencing it because I hope people will be like, "Oh, well, I need to go hear that conversation." And they go tune
They
in
will.
and check it out. But one of the things we talked about was like the positive things that we find in doing comedy, and I love that. One of my favorite things about comedy is when someone with something is able to
Mhm.
find humor in it.
Mhm.
My very first 5 minutes I ever wrote ever was about how I was born without a sense of smell. And I was able to make jokes off of kind of a disability.
Mhm.
I've learned some of my favorite humor, and this might make me an awful person because I feel like it creates a safe space for me to laugh at them. But like, for example, one of our local comics here in Nashville, she's in a wheelchair, and all of her jokes are about being in a wheelchair. And I find it absolutely hysterical
Yep.
because I feel like I'm allowed to laugh at this wonderful lady in a wheelchair. And maybe that makes me an awful person, but that's my
Nope.
style of humor. If a blind person gets up and does jokes about being blind, I'm here for it. Like
That's
that.
right.
Yeah,
That's how it should
yeah,
be. It's
yeah.
it's
So,
it's it's being supportive. Like there's a girl, I just finished up a class. There's a girl that took my class and she's in a wheelchair. And she goes, I hate to make fun of myself. I go, no, no, that's your crutch. I
yeah.
mean, that's your wheelchair. I told her it's not a
That's
crutch.
your crutch. That's
And
your
and
wheel.
she said she said, but people won't think it's funny. I go, if you think it's funny, then they'll think it's funny. Like you
Mhm,
say, blind person's making fun of the fact of being blind, then that's great. She
mhm.
says, what should I start with? I said, you should start with the joke. I tried to give to one of my friends in a wheelchair and he wouldn't take it. He goes, that's offensive. I says, just say you used to be a dancer, but your career continues because now you're part of the Crippendales. And which I think is a brilliant joke, but I can't use it. And this girl
Yeah,
uses it. She goes, I
that's
shouldn't say
great.
that. I go, you
Yeah,
can,
yeah, that's
because
it.
you
It's not
are.
punching down because it's talking about your experience. And
Yeah.
yeah. Now if she was like, I don't want to use it, that's fine. But like if you want to use it and that's your thing, you absolutely can. So
Yep. That's right.
that's
That's right.
that's funny. So and then now I feel like now clean comedy is kind of a thing more so recently than maybe even like 5, 10 years ago.
I
In the
think so too.
90s, was there much clean comedy or was it just comedy and some
Oh
people cussed
God,
and some people
no.
didn't?
I was part of that brigade. I told every joke that you shouldn't tell, or I leaned on the dirty side, and I'm saying like, what? And I kept saying to myself, there's got to be more than that. And after the 90s, I just started to branch out a little leaning toward clean
Mhm.
comedy, doing shows where I had to do for the Relay for Life for the Cancer Society, had to do a show and it had to be clean. And the best one that I did is one woman goes, I got a full tent of people for you. And I walk in, they were a group of 24 10 to 13-year-old girls. As I had to go down to their
That
level,
sounds like a
be
terrible
clean,
audience.
but they were good because I was talking about how boys stink, how I hate
Ah.
math, and how my teacher's terrible and my parents are always wrong. And these mothers of the daughters go, okay, they're all yours, and they walked out. So it's like I started back then, but then I leaned more in the 2000s since COVID, thinking, okay, when I had to do online stuff, not that I had to be clean, but I just tried to be. And
Mhm.
now, the late like 2015 to 2020, I was doing some churches and doing shows for veterans. And uh, since 20, I think 13 or 14, I think I was doing Hope Lodge for cancer patients, which I still do. And it blossomed very quickly into once a month. Me and my friend do it. He opens, Paul Durant says 10, 15 minutes, and I do 45 to an hour.
That's
And it's
awesome.
like you probably get the same feeling when you're doing shows for people who are ill, if that's the case, or people come up to you and say, hey, I'm dealing with this, I'm dealing with cancer, I'm dealing with MS, but you made my day or you made my night. So
Mhm.
that's the joy that I find. And only clean comedy can do that because I'm not saying you can't be dirty in or four-letter words, but it's more of a challenge just to be clean. But the
Mhm.
reward behind it is just incredible. And people will try to bet against you, saying like, "I'm waiting for you to slip." I go, "Slip on what?"
Yeah.
Because it's my reputation and it's the church's reputation
Yeah,
or the
absolutely.
nonprofit. So, uh, fun
So
stuff.
you do a lot of fundraiser shows like that.
Yes, I do.
So that's something I'd love to talk more about. So your official group is Comics for a Cure.
Yep.
And then so tell us about that. There I have several questions, but I think the best way to start is like you tell me about your fundraiser shows and all of that, and we'll go from there.
Comics for Cure started in 1994 after I did a benefit where you could tell it was the 90s. That's when AIDS was prevalent. And we
Mm.
did a show for AIDS patients, and we didn't know they were in the audience, so the guy told us. And we did it for them. And I opened up for legendary comedian Anthony Clark.
Cool.
Very funny man, and he did a great job. But and me and my friend were totally unrehearsed. We didn't know what to do. We opened up, we did a team thing, and then we did a singular thing, and then some other guy went up, and then Anthony Clark went up, and we raised, I don't know, 10 grand or 11 grand on a Monday night in a wall that was painted in psychedelic colors in a town
I
nobody wanted to go to, but they showed up
love
because
that.
a guy promoted it. So since then, one guy after the show, Tony Marcus, he goes, "Hey, look, let me meet at your house. We got to talk about comedy." I go, "Why?" He goes, "I got an idea." He goes, let's start a group, and we would form it doing benefits, fundraisers, do stuff for worthy causes. What do we call it? Comics for something." I said, "Comics for a cure." Since then, it it went up and did wonderful. We were doing like 1 to 2 shows a month, and it grew to almost like 3 or 4 shows a month. And it's been consistent since 1994. And matter of fact, the last show I just did was for a girl battling breast cancer. I didn't know her from a hole in the wall. I knew her friend, who I said, "Well, let me write to the group behind it." I go, "You want to do a show?" They said, "Oh my God, really? You want to do it for us?" And we get a small crowd for a Tuesday night, but I got an auditorium from my buddy at City Hall. He's a mayor of a town called Leominster, and we raised like $1,500 plus, and she's overjoyed because you can use that for her expenses. So we like doing those kind of
Yeah,
things. And I'm not saying they're all clean shows, but if a group says we want it clean, we make it clean.
you can do
But
it
I try
clean.
to
Yeah.
lean toward that because there's no need to be on the X-rated side or the R-rated
Hmm.
side if it's not necessary. You had
Absolutely.
questions?
Oh yeah, well, do you find it's easier to build an audience for your shows when you're doing it for a good cause? Is it like, hey, come support this cause and come to this
Yep.
comedy show? So,
Yeah, I think so because there's either a commonality, like a people know if I do it for cancer research or a group dealing with cancer and stuff, there's a commonality where people come say, "Hey, you know what? I know someone dealing with cancer, or I've had it in my family," or if it's
mhm,
someone with a heart condition, it's the same thing. Like, yeah, that's running my family, or I have a minor
mhm,
heart condition, I'm monitoring it, and I think it's a good thing that you're doing it. I think it's always a good thing because there's that relatability and plus you don't get heckled at fundraisers because they ruin
oh
the
yeah,
entire show.
they don't want
Find a
to.
heckler,
They
it's
don't.
like
Yeah,
keep it up, keep it up, good idea. It's
that's
suicidal, so
funny.
that's why I warn people ahead of time.
Yeah, that's a now. Is there now you've done a lot of them since you've done it since 1994. Is there a particular show that really sticks out to you as like this was like a really special one, or this was a really great cause, or we changed the course of the earth because of what we did with this one, or anything like that?
It was a recent one, but there were a bunch of them I did for this girl who her parents and family reached out to me because they knew I was doing it.
Mhm.
Let me get it right because it's Armenian. And Italians only say Italian names right. So I'll say it right. It's called the Danielle Yajalian Foundation. Danielle had a beautiful baby boy, and months later, she developed stage 4 cancer. I think it was lymphoma cancer, and she never survived. And since then,
Mhm.
they live on with her name by naming the foundation after her, helping people dealing with cancer. And they would tell me they turned down so many people going through it doesn't have to be cancer, but it's like
Mhm.
terminal illness. They have to, they justify. People say, "I'd like to apply for financial help because we're dealing with this with my son
Mhm.
or my dad or my husband or wife." So it's a great foundation. I've done like a handful of shows for them. We just did one recently, and they were overjoyed because they raised somewhere to the tune of 3 grand, and they didn't expect it because they do X amount of fundraisers a year. So that one always stands out because they're such good friends and they're great people, and I still have a connection with them. And they're ones that talked me into doing a golf course and telling jokes
Yeah.
at hole number 4. So great, great. That's par for the course, I said. But anyway,
Huh,
you know,
nice.
but that
And
one
that ended up
stands
being a
out.
good show too. Yeah, that's wonderful. Now, if you're what kind of advice would you give to comedians that might want to start like a fundraiser show or do producing shows for a cause or anything like that? If someone was wanting to get into that, what would be some pointers that you would give them? Because I imagine there's probably some subtle differences from just producing any old comedy show, you
Yeah,
know?
it's a matter of like you have to book the right people that work together, get along together, and you have to know who you're booking. Like there are some great acts that are edgy.
Mhm.
I'm careful of that. I'm cognizant of that. I get the people that are not that they're not professional because I've seen professionals be edgy and that's all
Mhm.
in good. But I always try to book the people that are popular within the area or if they have a connection to the town, because Massachusetts is a pretty big state. So it's like it's not like I couldn't get a guy from Maine like a Bob Marley
Mhm.
who's extremely popular. Or I couldn't get guys from Rhode Island, like John Parada. He's very,
Mhm.
very popular. So forth and so on. Ace Aceto from Rhode Island, or Ed Regime, like some of these guys. So depending on the area, you always try to focus on who's a good fit, um, who has the ties in with the town, and or maybe they may have ties in with people dealing with that disease, because I think
Mhm.
it's a good thing. But and try not to make it a long, like maybe probably a three-person show, because you
Mhm.
make it more than that, you don't want the crowd to be tired. So if you have that, and if you have like at least two headliners, so I'll consider myself a headliner. But if someone's more popular than me
Mhm.
and stronger than me, then I'll certainly go second and be the quasi headliner, like the feature slash headliner.
Mhm.
And it's an honor to do that. One of my good friends I work with is Frank Cinarelli, and if you know The Sopranos, because
Mhm.
you said you're on the Italian side too.
Yes, yeah, I'm 50% Italian, but that's the side that raised me. So I'm
Good enough for me.
Sicilian. Yeah, so yeah.
Oh, Sicilian, yeah. So you had to sleep with
Yeah.
one eye open at night.
Yeah.
Um, so me and Frank was in The Sopranos, 16 episodes. So he's a good selling point. Like, oh my
Mhm.
God, I watched The Sopranos. Oh my God, I remember him. He was Georgie the bartender or whatever his
Mhm.
name was. Him and I did a double headliner show, and it was so much fun. We raised money for a group called Live Strong, where they support cancer patients
Mhm.
after their treatment, and they work with the YMCA to get these cancer patients get their strength back, because they lose all their strength when they're going through chemo and radiation. Wonderful program, and we raised a good amount of money. So, that's like another one, but you try to
Yeah.
figure on the best way to do it. So we thought, okay, how about a two-man show, double headline, and we did 45 minutes each, and it was magical. So it's like just try to book the right people. Don't make it long, make it the typical
Mhm.
90-minute show, but try to get people like I know I could work with Frank really well.
Mhm.
John Prado I could work with well. Johnny Joyce I work with well. Bob Sheehy. I go on and on and on, but I know who to put together and how they're going to deliver. So that's the best way that I try to tell people to do things.
Yeah, I love that. And also something I heard in what you were saying that I think is admirable and notable is in producing shows, you were okay putting other people to headline if you know it's for the good of the show, if you know that
Oh
maybe they're
yeah,
a bigger
definitely.
draw and stuff like that. Oftentimes, producers have to realize that being the comedian isn't the most important part of the show.
Yep. Yep.
I've worked on shows before for where the producer also kind of wants to be the headlining comedian,
Yep.
and I've seen it before. It's embarrassing for them where they're like the it ends up being a big crowd, and the person who put together the show and maybe put themselves as like the middle act walks up to the headliner is like, actually, I want to headline the show, and the headliner's getting paid the same anyway, so he's like, sure, whatever. And then it's embarrassing. It's
Yep.
because the producer's ego got the best of them.
That's so true.
And it's so I always let people know that it's a different hat being the comedian and being the
Yep.
producer, and so but I love to hear that when you're putting your shows together, you do put yourself as the headliner sometimes, but also you have other people that you can put in on that as
Yep.
well.
Yeah, because I figured that that's the best thing. Because sometimes, like if I book like a guy like Frank Cinderelli or John Parada, like I book them for all their credits. They have great credits, and I have some good credits too. Don't get me wrong, but theirs can outweigh mine. But if they're one guy's from The Sopranos, and one guy's a national act, and one guy's the king of comedy in Rhode Island, and one guy's the
Mhm.
king of comedy in Maine, then I book it that way. But people know the names, and I want them to say, "Oh, he's on the show," and they know that I'm a part of it. Like if I do 40 minutes and they do 50 minutes, like, oh my God, you guys are almost equal, or 45 and 45. So
Mhm.
we're still giving them a bang up show, like strong in front and strong in back. And
Yeah.
they pay to see them. Not that they're not there to see me, but they want to see who's this guy, Frank Center? Oh, I think I remember him, the guilty by
Mhm.
association. Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
remember him. No,
absolutely.
you don't. That's like I was in a movie for 10 seconds once. People go, I think I saw you. I go, you probably didn't even see the movie, but that's
Right. So
beside the
yeah.
point.
That's fun. Now, as long as you've performed and with as many people as you've performed, is there any like either really famous comedian or really notable one that's just like for a fun story of someone you've worked with, or and maybe without dropping names, maybe someone that was like it was a complete train wreck to work with, but makes for a fun story. Whichever you prefer.
Two people stand out. The first one is Larry the Cable Guy, which I worked with him back in 2000 or 2001. And so some radio station picked me because I did work for them, Rock 101, Manchester, New
Mhm.
Hampshire. Not that they're listening to me and saying like, "Oh my God, Jerry mentioned us." They don't even know who I
I'm sure.
am.
I'm sure they are. They're regular listeners of the Clean Comedy Chats with Drew Davis.
Yeah, let's hope so, or I'll tell them ahead of time. But I did a lot of work for them where we did like fundraisers or benefits. We did a couple, and I was a stand-up Santa once for them. Nobody wanted to do it, and I did it with my tail between my legs, but I did it, and all
That's
the
fun.
Santas were following me around to trying to imitate me. I go, look, do your own thing, guys. I was just telling Christmas jokes, but it was fun, and they made me do the set that time in front of like, 200 or 300 people. So it was fun. But anyway, so I worked with Larry the Cable Guy, two shows. Brace yourself, big city of Rochester, New Hampshire. I know. How does he get these? But
You
Rochester's
made
in the
it.
middle of nowhere. It's in the middle of nowhere. There's a few hills around it. I don't know if you can see the town unless someone puts their lights on. But anyway, we did the show, sold out two shows, and it was on a Friday night, and I was happy. And unbeknownst to me, I went before the big act, and I'm saying like, I'll try my hardest. Well, that's a mistake because I did bang up sets for like, 20, I'd say 25 minutes for each show. And back then I probably had like, yeah, 20 to 25 minutes in me, but gave it my best. I just wanted to
Mhm.
impress. Well, unfortunately, at the end of the second show, I met Larry, the cable guy, and he says to me, I said, Larry, nice to meet you. He goes, nice to meet you too, Jer. I says, hey, look, if you ever need anybody to open for you again, if you're around here, I'd be honored to do it. He goes, no way. I go, why? He goes, you're too damn funny. He didn't say damn, he said the other word. And so I was horrified. And his roadies said to me, take that as a compliment. You'll never work for him again or with
Mhm.
him again. You work with him, leave it at that. And I walked away. And
Mhm.
my friend goes, I heard him say that to you. I go, oh. The other one was Lisa Lampanelli. And everybody always guesses, like, you work with, and I did probably
Mhm.
like 5 or 6 shows with her. And she's known as the Queen of Mean, if you know Lisa Lampanelli. She could be very edgy. And someone said, oh God, how was she? I go, she was the nicest person. Every show she did with me, she treated me and my wife like we were her best friends. We had drinks and we talked,
Oh, that's so
had a bite
nice.
to
Yeah.
eat. So it's like those are two total
Hmm.
opposites. I was looking at Larry the Cable Guy like, oh my God, I'm working with the man, and yet he
Hmm.
wanted nothing to do with me. Whereas
Yeah.
she goes, Jer, I'd love to work with you again. And she made sure that every time she was up here, I think I did 6 shows with her, I would
So
say.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
And isn't it fun when you meet the comics that like maybe on stage are very dirty or very crass or very vulgar or whatever, and then they're just absolute sweethearts? Like I don't know. I always find that's I
I
mean
find that amazing.
sometimes it's the opposite where like they're super clean and super nice and super like saintly on stage, and then off stage you're like, oof, I don't know about that person. And
That's right. That's right.
that's never as much fun. But it is I'm very entertained when it's the opposite, when it's like they're very nice off
One night,
stage, but yeah.
one nice guy before he became big. I'm sure you heard of Tom Carter. Tom was the only comedian that finished almost won America's Got Talent, but he lost to a dog act, and that's what
Yeah.
he always says. But I worked with him before the cusp where he moved to New York and started getting big and very national, which Tom and his wife Carrie Louise, but they were both on jury duty, are very extremely funny people. Yet I worked with him once and heard no times. Yet when I did the show, we were like best friends. It was so weird.
I love that.
But I reminded Tom of one show that him and I did together in Manchester, no, in Nashua, New Hampshire, at a place that was kind of like not a gentleman's bar, but strippers used to go there
Hmm.
afterwards. I don't know
Yeah.
if they were in another room and they appeared afterwards. And I had featured for Tom and I did like 20, 25 minutes and he closed with like an hour. And he's talking to me. Before he's talking to me, this woman walks by and he looks at her and he said, I'm sorry, are those real? And she lifted up her sweater and showed him what she had, and he said, Jerry, I can't do this anymore. I need you to come back and relieve me. I go, what are you kidding me? I can't even move from here. And it was like we shared that story, but it was like I
Yeah.
reminded him of it. He goes, oh my God, I remember that like it was yesterday, and it was like
Yeah,
20
that'd be a
years
tough
ago.
one to forget. Yeah, that'd be a tough one to
Very tough,
forget. That's yeah.
very
It is
tough.
it is interesting the places we do, especially when we first start comedy. You because especially when you first start, it's like you don't turn down gigs, and who knows
Nope.
where that's going to take you. But this book, and it is also interesting. I've worked with headlining acts before that they'll afterward, like you were mentioning with Larry the Cable Guy, you were too good to continue to feature for him. That is sometimes with headliners is they look for what they consider mid features because they don't want to follow a tough act.
Yep.
I personally that I'm not really a fan of that. My attitude is like I love it when the feature gets up and is absolutely amazing and
Me too.
builds up such energy, and it's it's a little bit of a challenge. Like, okay, well, I gotta keep it going, but like I feel like if you ever can't, then you guys need to switch paychecks. Like so
Right,
is
right. You want
but
it forces you to turn up your A game, and
yeah,
that's what you want. And you're right, the momentum's there. If you have a feature act that's okay and low energy and got
and
some laughs, then it's up to you to take it
yeah,
all home.
you have to work harder. Yeah, which a
Very
good
hard.
headliner, which a good headliner in my brain, I always visualize like you're bringing up a shovel and you're like, well, here we go. We're gonna get out of this. But I've had headlining acts when I featured or hosted like come up to me after the show and be like, hey, so tomorrow night, can you not do those jokes because they got too big of a laugh? And I always agree. And then the next night, I always do the exact same jokes. I'm like,
Wow.
what are they gonna do? Not book me? Not to work with me again? It's fine. Like, but yeah, I've had that happen before. Um, let's talk about I'd love to hear more about the comedy scene in Massachusetts. Have you only ever done comedy there, or have you been like because you mentioned Rhode Island a little bit, and of course
Yeah,
the
I
big city
did
of
do a lot in
New Orleans.
Rhode Island. Rhode Island has a comedy factory which kind of rules, and John Perrotta runs it, or as I call him, John Perrotta, because he's got that accent. He's born with
Right.
that accent. Because you're in Providence, you had to have that accent.
Yeah, of course.
Massachusetts comedy scene used to be a real hotbed with Nick's, Play It Again Sam, Comedy Connection, and it's evolved to the fact that Nick's is still hanging around. It's still a good place, but it wasn't the place to be. Giggles is a big one in Saugus. It's the outskirts of Boston. Comedy Palace used to be in Worcester and Andover. That was big, and that dwindled away. I mean, it's evolved. I mean, it's still good. It's still a great place. Still got a lot of great comics, but a lot of the rooms now are mostly seem to be run by comedians who are headliners, who book a lot of great acts and book a lot of great shows, and which is wonderful. But unfortunately, the big names did what they had like now to take over for Boston. Comedy Connection has gone out of Boston. It's gone out of Portland, Maine, but it's still in Providence. It's not like it doesn't have the cachet, but they had the cachet. So the Boston comedy scene, you were in the Comedy Connection, and you could walk to Nick's Comedy Stop probably like 20 minutes, and you could walk to Dick Doherty's Comedy Den, and they were all three in the same radius. You could have like 3 to 5 shows in one night, but that's out of it got saturated. I think
Hmm.
the scene is still there, but it's just run by more. Like if you said, "Who do I talk to?" Well, it's not. There's Rob Steen runs a lot in New England. Mike Katrobis, Dave Radigan. There are so many people that do it. Johnny Joyce will book some too. So it's changed where the big names are there, but they're under a different pretense.
Mhm.
So the scene's kind of like it's still there, and there's a lot. You can go to any town and you'll find comedy shows, but you just have to know the right people. And I know,
Yeah.
so when you want to find out about it, I'll give you
Yeah,
names.
when I'm in the area, I'll definitely reach out.
Yeah,
That's one of my favorite parts about what we do with the Clean Comedy Collective is we are connecting comedians. So you have a whole list now. Like whenever if you know you're going to a state or know you're going to a city, you can look it up and see who's
right,
in the area and reach out to them and be like, hey, who should I talk to? And that's I
right.
think that building the community is huge. What do you have for yourself? I mean, you've been doing comedy for so long and you've been doing doing so many awesome things in comedy, but do you have any goals, like big goals for yourself down the line in the future, even like nearby goals that you've set for yourself? And it could be just, it doesn't even have to be just comedy. It could be like entertainment related, like any things that you'd like to see yourself achieve in the
I
near or far
like to.
future.
I appreciate the gift from God being Jerry duty. It gives me a chance to connect with people
Hmm.
from all over. I've talked to people from Florida, New Jersey, New York, LA. So it gives me a connection. So I like for that to continue, but grace of God, it should. That was through Nancy Lynn Albertson, who was daughter of a famous comedian from Boston named Freddie Stone, who she dared me to interview him as a podcast, and we'll air it on our station. And all of a sudden, I'm ready to leave. She goes, "I'm not going to let you go." I go, "What?" She goes, "You have to promise me to do this again. You have a knack for it. You know how to do it. You connect with people. You're funny. You get the funny out of people." So I like for that to continue, but I also like to, I'd love to do, like I'm doing a sports podcast now. I'm a big sports nut, especially in Boston. We have a lot to choose from, and we
Yeah.
criticize and talk about sports. It's only monthly. I like to see that grow more, but it's okay because I have a lot going on with Jerry duty. Sometimes twice a month. That's once a month. But
Mhm.
I like sports podcasts, but I really would like to focus more on uh, senior shows because I love doing them because they love to laugh.
Mhm.
Sometimes they give you jokes that make you turn red. It's just amazing because
True.
seniors say, "Hey, whatever, I got nothing to lose," and I like to build that more in churches because it's hard. You just like I was telling you, it's hard for churches up here, like the Chaffin Church in Holden, which is like 40 minutes away from me. My friend Marty Holman, he's a pastor there. He
Hmm.
took my comedy class, and I've known him since 2020. He took it during the pandemic, and he says it's the best decision he ever made. It helps him as a pastor, like you being a youth minister, deliver the messages, but incorporate some humor into it too. So it's kind of
Absolutely.
cool. So I'd like to build on
Yeah.
that, you
I
know.
like that. Sounds like because you got a lot of things going on and building them up and doing them better.
Yep.
I think that's a great, a very achievable goals. And now I'm being mindful of your time because I know you got big things going on later tonight, and then followed by bed, which is also later tonight. But before we go, is there what can you promote? Where can people find you? I You're a hard person to find online, Jerry. I'll be honest, but like for anyone listening to
YouTube,
this,
Jerry
what?
Caruso, there's a ton of things. But I mean, yeah, so I used to have a website. It went down because it was one of those ones it was webs.com. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, that went down. I go, well, what happened to my website? Gone. How can I
Mhm.
recover it? It's gone. Where is it now? Gone. I'm like, oh, so I got to find somebody, which I know a few people I'm going to approach. They find out about me on Facebook and LinkedIn, unfortunately. I know
Mhm.
LinkedIn's a business Facebook. That's all it basically
Yeah,
is.
but your LinkedIn though is pretty informative. Like I was impressed when I was seeing your LinkedIn yesterday. I was like, oh man, maybe I should make mine better or whatever. So it was a good one.
People do see that and like so I'll get a lot of work through people on Facebook and people on LinkedIn that will ask me, "Hey, would you do this? Hey, can you do this? Hey, would you come and speak here?" So it's like that's another part that I like to build
Mhm.
is motivational speaking. I love talking about laughter is the best medicine, clean joke, health benefits of laughter,
Mhm.
going back and forth to support groups. It's cool. But I mean, yeah, people can find me through Facebook and LinkedIn. And eventually soon, after I get off my lazy ass and say,
Mhm.
okay, hey, Mike, can you build my website? And there was another guy I was targeting, but he's busy, so I get it. But I'll deal with my friend Mike. He's a good guy. He did a good job on my buddy's website. So hey, whatever. I know I got to do it, and so hopefully I do that. But that's how people find me. And you could YouTube me. There's a bunch of YouTubes on me because I've done YouTube in Vegas and like a guy in
Yeah.
California.
And that's
This
probably
girl in
what, for anyone listening, I'll probably link his YouTube. I'll link YouTube and LinkedIn, and that's where you get on our episode notes, so you guys can check those out.
Excellent,
So,
excellent. Yeah. But it's cool. I love it. And you know too, labor of love, we love doing it.
mhm.
And to make people laugh is like a phenomenal thing. It's a high, like a runner's
Mhm.
high, but you don't have to go run 26 miles to get it.
Yeah,
You just
so much better. I think you'd mentioned being a runner before. I've never enjoyed running. I don't think the runners highs exist. I think those are just crazy people. However, I
You
can
never got
say
it. That's what it was. You never
no,
got it.
I tried running and I only felt like death afterwards. So I don't, but I have had the comedian's high. Well, not that, well, I guess that's not the best. The
Comedian's high
comedian's,
is good too. We had talked
yeah,
about that on my show, and
yeah.
it
So
does exist. It does exist, and it's a good thing to have. So yeah, I just say to people like you say, as long as you have fun doing it, keep doing it. When it
mm,
becomes a job, stop doing it because it's not
yeah.
fun anymore.
It's not worth it once you're not enjoying it. When you are enjoying it, you can get past the BS and the stuff that's sometimes
Yes,
tough. But
plenty of that.
when you don't enjoy it, it's like, why am I doing this? And that's a great question. So,
Yeah.
but Jerry, I've had an absolute blast interviewing you, and I had an absolute blast not too long ago being interviewed by you. It felt like we had like a double duty there.
Love it. Love it.
And everyone else, you all, I'm speed running the end of this episode, but check us out, cleancomedycollective.com. Apply if you're a comedian. Check us out on our shows. Listen to earlier podcast episodes. Thank you so much for being here. Send us mail if you want. And Jerry, thank you so much for being on this episode.
Thank you, Drew, and I'll be in touch to do part two.
Yeah, we'll do part 2, and the rest of y'all, we'll chat with you next week. All right, have a good one. Bye.
Take care.
You're welcome.